What's up everybody, Coach John back here with another video to help you lose all the weight you want to lose. Today's topic, we're going to talk about protein again, but in a slightly different way. A lot of people, when they get their head around, oh wow, I need more protein in my diet, it's going to make me more satiated, it's going to give me all the essential amino acids that I need to support my recovery, muscle repair, lean mass, all that good stuff. And as we mentioned in a previous video, a great rule of thumb when you're setting up your diet is to go for 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight. And for this, especially if you're someone who's very overweight, you can use your goal weight as your target for protein. Again, you can't go too high on protein, but you can go too low. Because people are not used to thinking about protein and adding it into their diet, they often think that this is way harder than it actually is. Often it just takes some simple substitutions or additions to their diet, and all of a sudden their protein numbers skyrocket. This was certainly the case for me. I've always enjoyed protein, mainly because I'm a meat eater. But even once I realized how many things could be sources of really high quality, not a lot of other fats and carbs in it, just really straight protein when that's what I needed. I still eat meat, but these things are so handy that I've actually started eating them more just because they're so easy and oftentimes very cheap. So today I'm going to give you my list of a bunch of great sources of protein that you can add into your diet. And I guarantee you, if you add these things into your diet, a lot of them are so low calorie. If you base meals around these things, you're going to find that the caloric intake of your meals is going to drop. So I'll start off first with a very common question, and that's protein bars. These are very tricky. I don't often recommend these because I don't like the vast majority of protein bars. The word protein can get thrown around in a lot of situations where it's not warranted, right? People can technically say, oh, we've put a lot of protein into this thing. It's got 13 grams of protein, but that protein is coming entirely from soy plant sources that do not have the same amino acid profile as meat, eggs, dairy, animal sources of protein that are far more complete and far more useful for our purposes. As far as protein bars that I can recommend, I mean, Costco has a pretty good Kirkland brand protein bar. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still very good. And probably Quest bars are about as good as you can find in the average grocery store. The good news is, I know that's not a lot of ideas, but hopefully in the future there will be more high quality protein bars coming onto the market, more plentiful, we'll have more options for somewhat cheaper prices. But right now, if you're paying $2 for a protein bar, that's pretty good if you're getting a Quest bar or something like that. Now, a slightly different topic, the really good protein in those protein bars is usually coming from some type of whey protein. So obviously, if you can just get the whey protein, problem solved. It's harder to get it into bar form, although there are recipes out there for making your own protein bars and stuff. High quality whey protein doesn't have to be expensive. You can buy a big 5-pound bag of it. It'll last you a month or two. And that's if you're using it almost every day. If you're going to Costco, I really like the Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard. I don't like Muscle Farm, Combat, that stuff's no. But generally speaking, there's a lot of great whey protein isolates out there, and that's what you want to go for. If you want to try a Casein Protein, knock yourself out. It's a bit slower digesting, right? So I like to take isolate, especially after a workout. It's a little bit faster digesting, whereas Casein is something that a lot of people take before bed because it's slow releasing. We don't have to worry too much about that. We don't have to split hairs about where the protein is coming from exactly. Protein powders are awesome. You can definitely find one that's in your price point and that tastes good. I will say if you're gonna bake with whey protein, Casein takes to baking much better. So let's get into the meats. Ground beef is the most nutritionally dense meat we have. It is a gift from the gods. Ground beef often comes though with a decent amount of fat, especially if you're going the economical route, you're buying 80-20 ground chuck, right? That can have quite a lot of fat. And if you're not looking for fat calories, you can do what I do, which is I found all different ways to separate the fat from the meat. You take your ground beef, you cook it up in a skillet, and then you drain that sucker, right? You drain it as best you can, get all the fat out of there. And if you notice that once you put it in Tupperware and put it in the fridge, you're still seeing a bunch of white residue kind of caking up, and you want to lower the fat content even more, the next time you cook it, you can drain it. And then when I dump it into my Tupperware, I put down some paper towels as sort of like a sponge to suck out more of the fat as it drains down in the hot beef. And if you really want to get crazy, I've never done this, you can, after that, put it in a colander and rinse it. I think this probably would work better while it's still hot. Usually the first two methods work fine, gets the vast majority of the fat out of there, and what you're left with is actually a fairly low calorie Very protein dense food. Next, and this one is probably one of the best as far as protein density, tuna. Some people don't like the flavor of tuna. However, it takes different flavors really, really well. You can do lots of different stuff with it. It's so portable. You can find the cans with the little key opener, and now they have pouches, tuna pouches, and you get these in different sizes. And if you're not a huge fan of the flavor, they come in like lemon pepper, spicy Thai, sweet chili. One of my kids loves the ranch flavor, which boggles my mind, whatever. Point is, you might be surprised at which flavors float your boat. But tuna packets are amazing. They're just absolutely loaded with protein and not much else. They're flavorful. You can incorporate them into other things, like you can take a low-calorie tortilla wrap and dump a tuna pouch in there, and boom. Tuna is something that somebody clued me into, a gym bro clued me into it when I was just starting to diet when I was like 19. And that served me very well. That was some of the best diet advice I ever got in those early days when I didn't know jack. StarKist and these other companies that make the tuna pouches are also now making chicken pouches, which is really cool. My wife accidentally bought one the other day, and I was like, okay, that's not my favorite. There's a little too much sauce. It was actually pretty good once I kind of got used to the idea of a packet of shredded chicken. So chicken breast, definitely a fantastic source of protein. It's got more protein per ounce than beef. Doesn't have the nutrient density, but if you're looking for a clean protein, chicken breast is fantastic. It's easy to cook up in big batches, chop it up, throw it in a Tupperware, bust it out whenever you're making a salad, making your meal prep for the day. Chicken breast gets a bad rap for good reason, but it takes flavor so well, especially when you cut it up and you add it in cut up, diced, or shredded form to your meals. It takes flavoring really well that way. A lot of people are into ground turkey. I'm personally not too into it because it doesn't seem to have as much protein per calorie as some of these other options, but turkey bacon, ground turkey, very popular in dieting circles. Try it out, you might really like it. This one may be surprising because it kind of usually gets lumped into snack foods, but I use it as part of my meals all the time, and that's beef jerky. Obviously, beef jerky, we tend to associate that with like the crappy little pouch of soggy, like it doesn't even look like real meat half the time. I started making my own beef jerky a few years ago, and that really brought home to me that, wow, this is one of probably the most common ways that my ancestors consumed their protein, because you could only cook so much after a harvest. If you slaughter an animal for the whole town, right, it's going to get eaten up in one night, sure. But if it's just for a family, or a couple families, you're going to want to preserve the vast majority of that through drying. And this goes for fish as well. I've made salmon jerky, which, mind-blowing, so incredibly good. It's like being able to smoke your own salmon. I just use a brine of a little bit of brown sugar and a lot of black pepper, soy sauce. I don't often have the time to make my own jerky. In that case, I get it from Costco, where I can get it relatively cheaply and find really good high quality versions. My favorite is the Tillamook brand of beef jerky. Again, it travels fantastically well. This may not be a staple in your home, but it may be something that can be a go-to when you're out of the house. Moving into our non-meat option, dairy is a fantastic source of protein. Milk has quite a lot of protein, and now certain companies like Fairlife, who started out making lactose-free milk, by doing that, they found ways to make sort of more concentrated versions of the stuff you want in the milk, in this case, protein. Now you can get a little thing of milk that has 30 grams of protein. It's basically like a chocolate milk that is a protein shake with no sugar, like 2 grams of carbs or whatever. It's insane. It's awesome. It's another gift from the gods. Another thing that, we have no reason to complain about dieting. It's so easy nowadays compared to even 10 years ago. So Fairlife milks, other sort of protein concentrated milks, just make sure that it doesn't have a lot of added sugar or carbs. Cottage cheese, it comes in, no fat, low fat, 4% fat. I find the sweet spot as far as flavor versus the fat content is that 2% mark. You can usually still find it for about 90 calories per half cup, which is often 13 grams of protein, which is a lot for 90 calories. Even better than that, non-fat Greek yogurt, you can get 18 grams of protein in 90 calories of Greek yogurt. Again, those come in higher fat versions as well. And even your non-fat Greek yogurts sometimes sneak in a bunch of sugar and carbs for no good reason. But if you stick to the 3 or 4 brands that are really good about keeping it low carb, like Faye, Too Good. Just be sure to look at the labels. You'll find something in your supermarket that'll work great. And last but definitely not least, we have the GOAT, eggs. Eggs have a complete protein profile. They taste fantastic. They can be cooked in many different ways. You can eat them for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, hard boiled, over easy, scrambled. You can make frittatas. You can crack them into a stir fry. 70 to 75 calories per egg, depending on the size. A little over 6 grams of protein, tons of vitamins and minerals, relatively cheap, and cage-free, omega-3 rich, organic versions are becoming more and more popular all the time, and therefore more and more affordable. Eggs are a no-brainer to add into your diet. Although in high quantities, if you're trying to get a lot of protein from eggs, you're going to end up taking in quite a bit of fat as well. And that's why egg whites have become a staple in many diets. If you digest them well, egg whites are an absolute no-brainer. Again, Costco has egg whites for super cheap. I mean, it's basically pure liquid protein, right, that you cook up. I often add it to some eggs, regular eggs, and then it goes very well with any add-ins you want to do, mushrooms, spinach, a little bit of cheese or whatever's on your program. So there's probably other options as well that I haven't mentioned, but these are things that I routinely go for. These are things that I've had a lot of success adding into my diet. Not only are these things all delicious on their own or easily adaptable to any palate. I mean, look at cottage cheese and Greek yogurt. I mean, these things on their own, you may not love the flavor, but you could add a little something here or there that completely changes it. These are very adaptable. Same thing with egg whites. If I hand you a plate of plain egg whites, it's not going to blow your hair back, right? You'd probably be like, I can't taste. Do I have it? But they take seasoning very well. So I encourage you to play with all these things, incorporate even 1 or 2 of them into your diet. Tell me in the comments down below. There's got to be one of these that you don't have in your diet right now on a regular basis. Let me know which one jumps out to you. I hope this was helpful. Get your protein, people. It's going to make dieting a lot easier, and it's going to make you feel better now and in the long run. If you're looking for no-cost support, you can find it over on the Facebook group, Lose Weight with John. If you want one-on-one coaching with me, you can email me at johnoakescoaching@gmail.com. Please subscribe to the channel. Please tell a friend. Please share these videos with your social media. So many people in our circles are interested in this stuff. We just don't always talk about it. Some people are just looking to get rid of 15 pounds of baby weight. Other people are a lot more overweight than you realize. You know, time passes, people's health changes. We don't share about these things on social media, but people need this sort of help just as much as we do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.